Friendship supreme. Friendship supreme. Finding the geek within.
Hey everybody, I'm Michael.
This is Cleve.
And welcome back to another exciting episode of Friendship Supreme, where the podcast that dares to ask what was better animated series, what was the better animated series, Xmen or Batman?
Xmen.
Yeah, it was.
It's just too many characters to not be better. You know what I mean? That's where I think it gets you is the volume. You had that intro, man. It was iconic.
Oh,
although Batman's intro was also iconic.
And won an award.
Yes.
But I don't remember the Batman one nearly as much as I remember the...
I do, but it's like
the X-Men one.
It's not super quotable like the guitar riff.
To the point where Katie has never seen the X-Men animated series, but can hear that song and go, that's the X-Men animated series. And I said, yes, that's mine.
Do you ever see you have seen it, the Japanese version?
It's better.
Yeah.
Why does Japan keep doing things better than us? And why do we fight it? Like, why don't we just allow them to do our intros?
I don't know. Bang, bang.
Can we get... bang, bang. Can we just get Japan to do Friendship Supreme's intro?
Can we just get the licensing to the song? And then can we recreate it? We'll do a whole... Let's just do that. Let's just recreate it. And Cyclops is supposed to be, like, energy-based. So Havoc would have an actual beam that came out of him.
Right.
As opposed to...
Sound
Banshee would
waves.
just scream, and the sound would, like, shatter glass and whatnot. So Xavier puts a team together because the original team got captured. This came out 1975, if I believe.
Feels accurate.
So they have to go to... So Cyclops is on a ship. He's like, I don't remember what happened. I was just on a ship on autopilot, and the team got captured, and we need to go get them.
And his powers are gone.
Yes, the powers are gone. They eventually come back. They go to the... Sunfire quits the team 3 times.
I really dislike that
Leaves,
character.
and then
and I don't know much about him, but I did not like him.
He was supposed to be part of, like, the Japan Xmen.
Who else is in that?
Apparently, a lot of them didn't make it.
It's funny how none of them wanted to be there, but they're like, yeah, we're here, whatever.
Yeah. I thought, this is going to be weird to say, Storm was drawn very sexy. I want to say the first time you see her, she's got no top. And it's just like her hair covering her. But she has like a...
I'm pretty sure she's basically...
I mean, she's supposed to be like a goddess in Africa, but she was like... She had this like higher being look to her as she was drawn.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool.
I always liked Storm as a character.
Yeah.
I thought she was a really well-developed character.
And she gets developed even more as the comics go on.
Interesting thing about Scott Summers that we learn later on, and I'm curious, is because I don't know enough about Havoc to tie it to it, because is not Scott Summers' eyes just a portal to some other weird dimension?
Yes, we've not discovered that yet, though, in this world.
Okay, but like, how does that play with Havoc's abilities? Does Havoc
I don't
also
think they ever were like, Havoc's the same way.
Okay, so in case you didn't know, Stephanie, Scott Summers' eyes are just a portal to another dimension that shoots out laser beams for some reason.
That's weird.
But see, yeah, because Havoc comes out of his whole body. Is it science? Havoc comes out of his whole body.
Same time, I don't know.
Yeah, it's science when you throw some goggles in that bad boy and suddenly goggles control dimensions.
Do you know that he got that from Mr. Sinister? Apparently, had been watching him since he was like an infant, and like
just randomly
was like, oh, this ruby lens is what keeps your body beam from coming out, and like he helped discover that. It was weird. I don't know.
Mr. Sinister is a really terrifying and creepy
individual.
individual.
We won't get into that because he's not even in this.
Sorry, yep.
Yep, I'm just all like, nope.
Fun fact.
The animated series is on Hulu. Go watch it and educate yourself.
Thunderbird
I can watch so many things right now.
dies like 3-4 issues later. Because when you read it, he's this real angry, strong, kind of fights authority, grumpy guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we already got one of those. And one of them has metal claws and stuff. So
He's just
we
Well, and so how long do most of these characters last? Because we then save the original X-Men. Like, I don't know if you wanted to go in order of how this works.
Well,
but
or we can just talk about it.
they save the X-Men. So the premise is the X-Men are gone, and then suddenly they go save them. And so we successfully save them in beating Krakoa, which is
by launching him into space.
Yeah, launching him. He is the human island, or not human island, but the living island.
And they escape on an iceberg.
Which he's like a mutant.
Yeah, and absorbs powers from other mutants. But not absorbs them like Rogue does, more like just
Kind of
sucks
feeds
their
off
life.
of it, yeah.
So they save him. So then, like, does the X-Men team just become super large? Or
Yes.
because, like, in the animated series, like, or even in the comics, like, we had a squad that were like the X-Men, and then the rest were like, you're kind of X-Men
Second
sometimes.
string.
Well,
X-Men.
once you save the X-Men, I feel like you stamp your passport as being an X-Men.
But a lot of them didn't want to be there in the first place. So after
all
this,
of them didn't want to be there in
right.
the first place.
So after this, do they stick around, and what's the reasoning behind sticking around? Do you know?
Just being... Because Storm was a goddess.
Right.
And she left that to find a bigger purpose for her powers, which I don't know how taking care of a village in Africa is not a great purpose, but whatever.
Right.
I mean, what
Because-
can she do?
well,
She controls the weather.
Because
What else does she do?
Because Professor
Well,
Xavier essentially
I mean,
baited her out of it. Like
Rain in Africa would be nice. So someone that can just
yeah.
make that happen would be
Yeah.
amazing.
Toto made that happen.
Oh, my apologies.
No,
It's
yeah.
Toto
So
Storm.
what?
Toto
Toto Storm. Professor Xavier baited her out of Africa by saying, like, "Come on, you're wasting your powers by
Yeah.
saving one small village. Come save the world." So yeah, I could see her, but the rest of them, like, none
Well,
of them.
Nightcrawler
really-
was being chased down to be lynched. So, fair
Okay.
enough.
Sunfire just needs to go away, I guess.
Oh, and then
Wolverine was just working for the government.
it's funny how much of a jerk he is. Because at one point, he gets there and he's like, no. And leaves. And then as they're flying there, he's like, hey, open up, I'm here. And then gets back on
Yeah,
and then speaks down to everybody all the
he's a
time.
real dick.
Yeah, he is.
And there's no reason for it. Yeah, does Wolverine go back to A-Force? Or
No,
does he
Wolverine
stay?
stays with the team. And apparently later on in comics, him leaving the Canadian
Or
government really, like, comes back to be an issue for the X-Men. Like, they didn't like that. But,
The X-Men didn't like it, or the Canadian government?
the Canadian government didn't like
Because they definitely didn't like it. He was like, you're going to let me leave.
yeah, I'm doing what I want to. Whatever.
I got claws.
And it's interesting. And so in this, the origin is more like a, hey, we did you a favor by giving you these powers. Is kind of
Maybe?
the way it felt like.
Because
like, did
once
this
we
for
go
you.
back into his background, he didn't even know about...
That's what I was just saying.
Yeah.
Then, like, later on, we're like, oh, we talk about his origin. It's like,
So
we experimented on
it's almost
him
like they
and-
just gave him a job. Because... Whatever. Yeah,
Who
tricky
else
to
is
get
in
into all
Alpha
that.
Flight? It's the hockey puck. Puck, I think is his name. I'm trying
Honestly,
to
don't
think It's
remember.
weird Canadian names. Sorry, Canada.
So this new team plus Cyclops goes to the island to save Havoc, Polaris, which is Magneto's daughter sometimes, Iceman, Marvel Girl, and I think in this Beast is a part of the Avengers right now, so he's not even there. Why they don't call him, I don't know.
Question for you on Hank: when does he become blue? And why did I'm curious as to why the artist made the decision.
Why they decided to do it, I don't know. Storyline wise, he was apparently messing with his
I'm trying to change it back.
genetics and he accelerated it, which caused him to be more beast-like. As for why in the comics they just decided, I don't know, maybe it was like this character needs some sort of arc or something going on, and they just
Too
decided
much
to go with that.
Hulk-like.
Maybe. Because he was basically like an ape man.
Just a bulky looking.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had the huge hands and huge feet and whatever. So they go there, save the X-Men from Krakoa, launch the island into space, and they're like, "Oh, what do you do with 13 X-Men?" I'm like, "You just, hey, live in the house. I don't know, hang out."
When does the school develop? Like, when do we start being like, "Oh, this is a school now"?
Currently, in this story, it was gifted youngsters, I believe. It wasn't a school yet because it was more like a military base that trained warriors than it was like, let me teach you math and psychology. But this is a big part of history, right? The expansion of the team, a whole new look, first African American X-Men, big deal.
Wolverine coming to the team.
Right, from being this B-list Hulk villain,
Yeah.
to
being a X-Men. And then exploding into what he is now.
right. Before I move on to the topic that you don't know about, any other thoughts on the comic?
Yeah, Stephanie, if you can have one power from any of the 7 that we just discussed, who would it be?
Oh.
Do you need me to rediscuss what the powers are?
No,
You'd also have
I
to
like
look
Storm,
like
though.
Nightcrawler if you wanted to be Nightcrawler, by the way. So.
Oh, but I like Storm.
Fair.
Well, I like
Feel
Nightcrawler.
fair. Do you become a black woman if you pick Storm?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, have fun with oppression.
I don't know.
You'd have to call it
It would be
Red
Storm
Bubble
or
for maybe
Nightcrawler. I
one.
like both of them.
Who?
Storm or Nightcrawler. I like their powers.
Cleve?
I know she just like does storms, but it's pretty cool.
I think besides the fact that he dies here coming up, I don't think Thunderbird's. I mean, you're just really
strong.
athletic. Like,
I feel like it's almost kind of... Well, I mean, it's
as
not
long-
necessarily a superpower, but Wolverine... I mean, because in the early years, they don't ever really explain his... Like he's just like a gambit of things, but then later on, it's literally... He just heals, and because of that, he can do this.
well, and then his sense of smell thing that they always
he's like
gave
an
him.
animal.
Yeah, like they can like hunt things down and
I didn't understand that. We did it but it was more enhanced than Sabretooth. Like Sabretooth was more animalistic because he was more of an animal as opposed to Wolverine. I never understood that. That was so out of character as far as everything else that they tried to explain.
like if you were just like he was trained to be a tracker, I could accept that. But like it's almost like a power.
Yeah.
Because he smells like ridiculous. Like, oh, they were here 45 minutes ago. I'm like, you can't tell that from a smell, man.
I think it's funny. By the time I got bored of them picking up X-Men, like, and doing like they're from this and doing like their whole story, they're like, and whatever, this happens, here's 3 more.
Yeah. Yeah. Hurry up. Let's get to the
Like,
action.
they just do so many of them. I'm like, okay, I got it. You picked up a bunch and you have to explain this whole story like 400 times. I'm tired of this story.
I felt bad for Colossus because he was like, he had to leave his family, and they were like, we just want you to know we love you no matter what. And he was like, I know, but it's something I feel like I have to go do, and I don't want to go, but I'm like, Xavier, you took this man away from his entire family and life. He was happy on the farm.
He's the livelihood for his whole family.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
he's literally the working force behind everything.
Yeah, he's
And
basically
he saved the little kid being run over with a tractor, and then was upset that he broke a tractor.
right. So this came out in 1975. Just yes or no, do either of you know what a retcon is?
Erasing everything.
It stands for retroactive continuity.
Okay.
You like retconning. I always know it from tabletops. Like you could be like, your team's all the way here, and then all of a sudden be like, but actually, what I forgot to tell you was 10 days ago, the moon became a full moon, and because of that, you guys have more powers now.
Okay.
Like just weirdly changing history and saying that didn't really happen. Actually, this part also happened that changes what's gonna happen soon.
Okay.
I feel like you know where we're going.
I don't.
Okay.
What are we retconning?
30 years later, they came up with a different story of how this went.
Dear God, why?
X-Men Deadly Genesis.
What?
See the
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Wait, you should show it in the camera too.
I thought I did.
Well, from far away.
So, in this book, the only things that were the same is they went to the island to find a mutant. Cyclops came back without everybody. That cast went and saved the X-Men. What you find out is that Xavier had sent another team to the island to save the X-Men. There was a girl named Petra. She's basically got the powers of like controlling earth and ground and whatnot. There was a girl named... Oh, let me see that page. Where are you? There's a guy named Vulcan. That's all we know about him. His name's Gabriel. And he is like energy-based powers. And then you have a girl who kind of controls time? And a guy who was in Avengers First Class named Darwin, who like adapts to everything, right? Which is a great power because in it you get to watch him like he looks almost like an alien, but he's in a fire, he becomes fireproof. They put him in the water, he grows gills. So basically, you're not gonna kill me. So Xavier goes to what is her name? What's his girlfriend's name? The girlfriend doctor.
Moira? Maybe?
Yeah, Moira McTaggart. So he goes to her. The four people that I mentioned live in New York, and Moira doesn't run a school, but she kind of takes them in. Mm-hmm. Xavier says, "I need to borrow this team," and Moira's like, "Absolutely not." Which, keep in mind, this is his ex-girlfriend, and he's like, "Why don't you let them decide? They should be able to choose for themselves." And so he's basically like, "Hey, you know the only like positive mutants in the world, like they need help. Do you want to help them?" And Vulcan's the first one that says, "Absolutely, we need to do this." So then Xavier does this mind thing where he trains them in their mind for like months, but it's only been a couple of hours. Gets ready to send them on the mission, and they all get slaughtered. Like graphically slaughtered. Like in one of the panels, one girl gets chopped in half. It's super dark and graphic. So apparently during around this time, Marvel had been hinting at another Summers brother, and it's Vulcan. So Xavier tells Vulcan before they leave, "Hey, your brother's out there. You gotta save him," right? So they get to the island, and they find Cyclops, which, keep in mind, Cyclops only knows that he was on the ship and autopilot and remembers something else. So, because Krakoa sent him to bring back more mutants, remember? Mm-hmm. They get there. He explains to him that his brother... So, Cyclops and Havoc got separated from the parents. Mm-hmm. Parents got abducted. They made the father a slave and then abducted the fetus from the mother and sped up the process to make him like a grown adult.
All right.
Because, you know, comics. So he tells Cyclops, "Hey, I'm your brother." They're so excited. They embrace. Cyclops takes off on the ship because he's like, "Go. We've got this. We'll handle it." And as he's flying off and flying away, he's looking down at the island and watches them all get massacred. And gets back to Xavier and is so screwed up. And he's crying, and my brother, and he can't turn the autopilot off. And he's freaking out, and he's like, "Can't believe it." And he's distraught. And Xavier wipes the entire experience from his brain.
Wow.
And puts in Cyclops' head and the other X-Men in their head that Krakoa was this being that could even speak, and he sent you back to go get other mutants, and erases his brother from his memory altogether. And this comic is about Vulcan coming back and being super pissed and doesn't understand why Xavier doesn't remember him. And as I read this, keep in mind, I had not read that yet. And I'm reading this and I'm like, what the hell is happening? This is dark. Mm-hmm. So it's this dark realization that Xavier's a terrible person?
Which I feel like later on we find a lot of instances in which he is. But
yes. Yeah. But basically the way that Vulcan survives is the girl that controls time bought them like a split second before she was chopped in half. And then the girl burrowed them underground before she died. And Darwin fused with Vulcan. It kept them both alive. So then it was the island was shot into space, like in the comic. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then House of M happens. House of M is a story arc where basically at the end, Scarlet Witch says, no more mutants, and everybody's mutant powers disappear. Or a lot of the population.
Yeah.
But in their mind, the way it works is that energy has to go somewhere. It goes all into Vulcan. Vulcan finally wakes up and comes back down to Earth, super pissed, obviously.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
But I had to have you guys read that, because you imagine, this is a staple of comic book history, and then 30 years later they were like, nope, this is what actually
That's not
happened.
even how what happened.
And
Xavier's just a dick.
Okay, but the real question is, in this, if I were to read this, do I get fruit pie comics?
You don't. This has a comic with Spider-Man, and he gets away from the criminals with fruit pies.
What's this fruit pies?
It's a simpler time.
Also, there's kung fu ads. There's all kinds of
There's
cool
a lot of
ads in
karate
there.
ads.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the thing back then. Everybody wanted to be in karate.
Yeah, so...
And ways to get muscles.
I like the art on the front. I really do.
And it's cool that they put it to where it matches the old.
Yeah.
But a cool thing in the comic is Vulcan's energy, Gabriel Summers. Vulcan's powers is also energy based, just like Havoc and just like Cyclops. And there's a moment where he shoots the beam at Cyclops, or Cyclops shoots the beam at him, and he goes, whoop, and you see the beam go straight and then go just around him, which you'd never seen before. Nobody's ever been able to do that in all of comics so far. Also, he burns Wolverine alive. But he doesn't know that Wolverine is Wolverine, and he's just going to come right back. So he lights him in flames and then just leaves. And that's when they start realizing, like, okay, Cyclops is like, he thinks he killed Wolverine. So he has to be somebody from my past before Wolverine was around, and trying to figure it all out. But at the end of it, should I spoil it? Or should I just, they find a way to split Vulcan and Darwin, who Darwin miraculously is still alive, like recovering. And Xavier had faked his death and comes back because he does that 50 times. And Cyclops is so pissed at him, he's like, I don't want you here. You don't belong here. You don't even have your powers anymore. Mm-hmm. You're not a mutant. Get out.
As he should.
Yeah. Vulcan also
How
kills...
is Xavier not a villain?
There's a lot of times that he's kind of a...
There's arguments people will have that he is. Because that was not a great way to handle it. And he's made it known that he has to focus on not manipulating people. Because he's that powerful.
Right. Well, and that's... So, like, even in the movies, which are terrible examples, he does that a lot, where he manipulates people. And, yeah, I mean, you think about... You have the ability to literally... make someone think whatever you want them to think.
Yeah. X-Men The Last Stand.
That's a lot of power.
Was solely based on him hiding something in someone's brain from him. And he does it to Wolverine too in the movie. Mm-hmm. But I just wanted to share with you the nightmare that I read.
If it makes you feel any better, Scott Summers eventually kills him.
He does.
Nice.
And a
horrific
death.
I feel
How
like
did he come back?
I don't know. You know what I found was crap is that... different storyline, but in the Phoenix Saga in the comics, Jean Grey destroys an entire planet, populated planet. She like eats it or something. It's weird.
The Phoenix Force does a lot of things. Too.
Yeah. So the X-Men are like, oh, it's still Jean, and the cosmic police, just a simpler way to put it, it's like she has to stand trial. She has to be executed because she's too dangerous. She killed an entire planet. And they're like, oh, this is our friend. We love her and blah, blah, blah. Cyclops gets the Phoenix Force when he kills Xavier. And everyone shuns him for it. And it feels kind of...
That's true.
Kind of not fair.
I never thought of it that way. I already don't really care for Cyclops, so I'm like, haha, suck it, Cyclops. But
So,
you're kind of right about that.
I've also found... Did you read the comics first or watch the cartoon first?
I would have watched the cartoon first and then started reading the comics.
So typically, people who don't like Cyclops
Watch the animated series.
watch the animated series.
Animated series
And he
paints
was
him
just this
differently.
Boy Scout, don't do that. I'm going to tell on you. If
And you were trained in the animated series to like Wolverine.
because
to like
Wolverine
Gambit.
always went against the grain.
Right.
And was like, fought
the
everything
cool
that...
character.
Yeah. So that's what I've seen anyway.
I can see that.
As I've read it, or as I've tried to keep up with the comics, obviously I fell off because it gets expensive to read too many storylines.
Again, patreon.com/Friendship Supreme. If you like these comic book episodes, help us buy comic books.
Let us know. Cyclops becomes almost a Magneto. Where he's no longer like... He doesn't live in Xavier's shadow anymore of like living that dream. He's like, I want to protect my people. That is it. And at the end of him having the Phoenix Force, it leaves his body and disperses, and I don't know if it destroys, but it disperses off, and it brings mutants back to life. Remember, I told you the House of M, they wiped them all out. And he's like, completely worth it. Everything I went through was worth it because my people are thriving now, as opposed to when we were almost extinct.
Yeah.
That wasn't the event that brought Inhumans along, though, right?
No.
That was some other...
They already existed. I'm trying to think of any other
Well, remember,
cool
there was
scenes.
there was an event that, even though the Inhumans existed, there was an event that happened that suddenly, like,
Inhumans
increased
versus
them,
X-Men?
like, crazy amounts.
Yeah, Inhumans versus X-Men is what that was. That was like the cloud... There's something in the air.
Yeah.
And it brings Inhumans, which are basically X-Men, different but the same.
have a
That
king.
bring them to life, but it was killing mutants. And so obviously one of them wanted to thrive and the other one didn't.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any other cool scenes in here. We killed Banshee.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw his tombstone.
Banshee apparently figured out what Xavier had done and was flying the information in. And Vulcan, for some reason, shut the plane down. I don't even know if he had a reason to. And Banshee tried to stop it, but died. Like, he basically just crashed two planes into one another. Yeah, it was an interesting story. I don't know if I was ready for it. I just looked online and they were like, this is a really good story. And I was like, okay, I'll read it. But if you look, here's the scene where the girl gets cut in half.
Jeez.
So now, not only did you learn something about X-Men history, you learned that it doesn't matter, kind of. Because we said, bibbidi bobbidi boop. And changed it.
I was going to say, as far as with Cyclops, I was trying to think, and you might be right, I think there's a bias because of the cartoon, and I could see that, but at the same time, he still seems pompous to me, and any comic I've ever read with him in it, he still seems so pompous.
There's a point where, in the Phoenix Saga also, where he steps away from it, because he lost the love of his life, Jean Grey, she died, so he
I think he got better after that. I think after he lost Jean, I think he gets better.
So he steps down, and Storm takes on the role. Well, then eventually one day he comes back, and there's not like co-leader. It's almost like he tries to take control back, and Storm is like,
You can't just leave.
I'm in charge. Yeah, and they have a interesting back and forth also. But I also think that despite their back and forth, they have a really good relationship as well, because it's like they look at each other's strengths. but still both kind of want to control. It's
I
interesting.
think that's that we should make Stephanie read as Avengers versus X-Men.
We could do a whole thing. It's just like a couple of comics on that. But yeah, we could definitely read that because that's interesting too. Basically, what happens is Phoenix Force comes in, Jean Grey gets it, dies. Phoenix Force goes away. Phoenix Force comes back.
It's this cosmic being that gives unholy amounts of power.
Cyclops sees it as a sign because the mutants are gone, and Iron Man tries to shoot it
Yeah.
and kill it, which seems like a terrible idea. And then it dispersed, and when it does, it goes into 5 different X-Men. It goes into Cyclops, who you know, Emma Frost, turns her body into diamonds, telepath.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You've probably seen some terrible movie versions of her.
Probably.
Colossus, Magic, which is Colossus' sister,
Yeah.
and Namor, which is the Submariner, which is Marvel Aquaman.
Okay.
But yeah,
Things go
it's
down.
dealing with that, and the Avengers want it to die because they remember Jean Grey, and the X-Men want to save it because brings back life like a Phoenix story does, and Wolverine's caught in the middle because he's an X-Men and an Avenger.
No.
So interesting.
You get to see Storm and Black Panther fight. That's fun.
Yeah, because they get married and then divorced.
What?
Yeah, live with that in your life. I pray that one day that gets to become
I can
MCU.
now.
I know. That's
It's
what I'm
exciting.
saying. But you gotta. It's so much work because you gotta. Because
Think about all of the.
T'Challa already has a love interest, and then you have to establish Storm. It's gonna be a while.
No, but I know, but think about the long game that they played for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, if Chadwick stays on for that long, that's basically what I'm saying.
Tell him if
Well,
he
if I
stays
get to
on that
live to see
long,
it.
he gets to be with whatever.
Well, I guess this movie's not coming out till 2021. What's time?
We could plug her into something quickly.
Yeah. So this means nothing because of this. Don't you fall down?
But you
Cyclops.
find a lot of times that Xavier really is just kind of.
You also find a lot of times where X-Men is the Retcon king.
And despite what the movies would have you think, Mystique is not a big part of the X-Men.
Really?
Yeah.
She's like a major part. in
Yeah,
those
we're pretty
movies.
sure it's because they signed on Jennifer Lawrence and said, we're just going to shove you into everything.
Well, big name.
Yep.
Those movies weren't great, but they had the best Xavier Magneto. By far. I love Sir Patrick and Ian, but those two were... They had emotional... You know what it is? It was a bromance. It was a movie about a bromance between those two, and then some other mutants.
I really enjoyed when Magneto had to explore his past. I enjoyed some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember the scene where he got to move the satellite, and he started tearing up, and he started using, which I think happens a lot. In normal, in the normal world, people use rage as strength, as opposed to using the love that they have for certain things as strength. Mm-hmm. And he starts making him remember his mother and the love that they had, and he was able to turn the whole satellite one direction. And he's crying because he's so happy thinking about it. I'm like, the lesson of using one thing for another. It happens in Avatar also, which you've never watched. The cartoon, not the movie.
Okay.
Okay. I was like the blue alien
I've seen the movie.
The guy with the scar, Zuko.
Mm-hmm. Played by Johnny Basco? Dante Basco.
Dante Basco. Yeah. His whole purpose of living is to catch the Avatar, and then all of a sudden he becomes friends with the Avatar because amazing story arc that you really should eventually one day in your life. It's a lot though. Just
The fire
warning.
people.
Yeah. The
Fire Army.
I forgot what they call it. Anyway, Fire Nation.
Fire Nation.
he becomes friends with the Avatar, so he loses his powers, and it's because he's always been based off of using rage to create the fire instead of truly understanding himself and finding peace with himself to create the fire, and just really well done.
I've heard Dante Basco does a really good job.
He does.
That's Rufio from Hook.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. He's also an amazing person to meet because he's just really nice to people.
Yep, super cool, super cash. That's all I have. Any other questions or thoughts?
Nope. That was
Living that nightmare.
thanks for setting it up to be a dick.
Basically, you could know
Just ruin
something
every
for
time.
30 years, and then they go,
For 30 years, this was everyone's reality. Because why would you change such a pinnacle
But what's
point
the
in
need
history?
right? Well, what's the need in going back? Other than, you know what? We pink diamond it. We
Yep.
said, haha, you liked Professor X. Not anymore.
Yep, it's a rose quartz, pink diamond situation.
but that means, like, we're 30. What if, like, all of a sudden, like, our
Pluto's
parents...
not a planet? Yeah. What if
That's
you
real
completely
hard.
changed?
That's real hard, yeah. What if, like, something just major happened in your life, and they're like, that's not how it
Yeah.
Have
is.
you
That's not
seen
real.
Common Core Math? I was told how to solve a problem one way, and now they're going to teach my kid another way, and I don't know that I can handle it.
People have real issues with the Common Core math, but I don't. I mean,
It's because you're not going to ever have to use it.
no, it'll change in 10 years.
But isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That you can live a reality for 30 years.
And then you just go
The
right into
hardcore fans that have to accept this new life as canon. Because apparently they were like, for 5 years, they were like, if you have a mysterious background, you could be the new Summers brother. Like, I think at one point Gambit might have been. It was the whole thing.
They do it a lot with death, where like that's why most people that read comic books don't take anybody dying seriously. It's because so many times it's been like Superman's dead.
I think Wolverine's already back.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
However, I don't know if you read The Death of Wolverine. I read it when we had the Marvel Unlimited. It's really good.
I know they encased him in molting antimonium.
Yes.
That's how they killed him.
But as he was covered in it and it was hardening, he still powered his way through, killed who he needed to kill, and then dropped to his knees, and then it just hardened. It was really good, though.
But yeah, no, Stephanie, everybody never dies.
Oh,
Apparently,
there's like 20 universes, so.
Nightcrawler,
So many more than two.
Nightcrawler's died also.
But yes.
Banshee, until he was brought back as Apocalypse's right hand, as the new Horseman, he was dead that whole time. And I don't think Thunderbird got to come back. I think they
left him dead.
They realized how stereotypical they were, and they left him dead. Which
Then
seems,
this is a good call. We're
it
just
seems
gonna-
unfair
I
that
don't like the Mortal Kombat character, but I feel like he's still there.
they look,
Was it Nighthawk? I think.
yeah,
it was.
side by side, Nighthawk, Nightwolf, something like that. Side
Yeah.
by side, they're like the same character.
Yeah.
They were like, what? Let's put all the stereotypical things we can think on this character.
Well, Apache Chief and G.I. Joe, same thing.
And Justice League. And he'd get really big.
Yeah.
I always liked it when he did that, though.
Anyways,
That's it.
yeah, no, it was a good story. Everybody should go read that book. Actually, read the first one and then the second one.
Yeah, it's still really. I mean, even the bit that I talked, I can't do it enough justice to where that should be your only source of it. It's really good to just check out. But yeah, you thought you knew history, and then you didn't.
I just learned this history.
I know.
And now it's gone.
Imagine knowing it for 30 years.
That being life and then being like, nope, that didn't happen. That's interesting. And angering.
Yeah, he put it in everybody's mind. But the thing is, too, you put it in everybody's head. You didn't just wipe Cyclops having to watch people die, because I kind of get that. I kind of get you having to sedate him a little bit,
You're like, you just watched your brother die.
and then never told him. Had Vulcan not come back, he would have never known. Havoc wasn't pleased about it either.
I can imagine.
Same anger, yeah.
I can imagine them all not being pleased about any of this. So you sent us to an island where not one, but 2 Xmen teams have disappeared.
Yeah, so the second team might be pretty pissed too, but like, you guys could warn me, like,
Yeah.
things went down. It was rough.
But imagine
There's a good chance you might die, guys.
you went to your ex-girlfriend and manipulated her kids to coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, Xavier's a dick. But yeah, no, anyway. Guys, check it out. Let us know what you guys thought in the comments down below.
Yep. Let us know on our social medias. We have Instagram. We have Twitter. We have Facebook. They are all Friendship Supreme, except for Twitter. Twitter has no eyes in the word friendship. It's because all eyes are on these bad boys.
We bad boys for life.
Is that the melody?
I don't think so.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been Michael.
This is Cleve. And let us know what you would do with 13 Xmen. Nothing dirty. Bye.